Howdy everybody, ArgonMatrix here, welcoming you to a bit of a different sort of video. And I'm going to have to start this off with some unfortunate news, in that anyone looking for the next video of Bloodborne, it's not going to be for a while because I've kind of run into some technical difficulties with recording Bloodborne. In that, whenever I try to record it, there always seems to be a large chunk of footage missing for some reason or another. I'm still trying to iron out exactly why that's happening. I've been emailing tech support and stuff for Elgato and just trying to figure it all out. So hopefully I'll manage to remedy that sooner rather than later. But for the time being, that means there's going to be no Bloodborne videos for a while. Not exactly sure how long. So in its place, sort of, I mean, I'd like to do these side by side as well. But in order to give people something to watch, and those who aren't into Bloodborne at all something to watch too, I'm going to be introducing a new series here. I'm going to be playing through Pokémon LeafGreen version. But it's not just going to be a standard playthrough of the game, not just a standard Let's Play. This is going to be what's called a Nuzlocke challenge. Now, I'm sure many of you are already familiar with Pokemon games, and I'm sure most of you are also pretty familiar with the Nuzlocke challenge, because it seems to be a fairly infamous thing on YouTube and on the internet as a whole. But I'm still going to explain it for the sake of those who don't have an understanding of it. If you're not into Pokemon at all and don't understand that, then this might be a little hard to follow, but I'm sure you'll catch on regardless. And I'm just going to go off the assumption now that you do have a pretty basic understanding of how Pokemon works. But for the Nuzlocke challenge, there are a few basic rules that we have to abide by. There's 3 basic ones, and then I'm going to be adding some sort of variant rules and clauses to it in order to switch it up a bit from just a standard Nuzlocke playthrough. So the first rule of the Nuzlocke challenge, and this is sort of just a pseudo rule, but I think it's an important one to abide by regardless, is that all Pokemon have to be nicknamed. You have to give a nickname to every single Pokemon you catch. This is mostly to increase like the emotional bonds to a Pokemon, so that instead of just having a Caterpie, you have like Rosebud the Caterpie, and that's your special Caterpie, and you can't let that Caterpie go ever, and it's the best. Yeah, so it kind of helps to construct a bit of a story and an emotional attachment, and just makes the whole thing a little more fun to do. The second rule is that you may only catch the first Pokemon encountered in any area. Now what this means is that when you go onto Route 1 for the first time, you can walk around in the tall grass there until you run into a Pokemon, and then say that Pokemon's a Rattata. You have to catch that Rattata. Well, you don't have to catch the Rattata, but that's the only Pokemon you're allowed to catch on Route 1. So you can try and catch it, and if you fail to catch it, then that's it. You don't get an encounter for that route. That is forfeit. If you do catch it, then awesome, you can add it to your team or put it in the box or whatever you want to do with it. But that's the only opportunity you get to catch anything on Route 1, and that goes for every single area in the game. So that's it kind of limits your options to what you can actually use in the game. You don't get to pick and choose what you want. You don't get to like search around for hours for the perfect 1% encounter Pokemon. You have to kind of work with what you got. And the third and arguably most important rule of the Nuzlocke is that if a Pokemon faints in battle, it's considered dead and has to be released. If you're playing like a little more softcore, then instead of releasing it, you can put it in a box and just leave it there permanently. But I'm probably going to be releasing my guys just because I feel that's more of an honorable send-off, I guess. But basically what this means is that if your Pokemon's HP ever hits 0 and it faints in battle, you can't just use a revive on it. You can't just go to the Pokemon Center and fix it up. That Pokemon is gone. Kaput. Dead. Little Rosebud the Caterpie's not looking so good anymore. Huh? Probably be Rosebud the Butterfree at that point. Hopefully, anyway. Yep, so that's, it makes battling much more tense, and it's very scary at times, trust me. I've done a few of these Nuzlocke challenges just, like, in my off time, and I don't know if I'm very good at them, but they get very scary. So those are the 3 basic rules of the Nuzlocke. Now I'm going to get into what I'm going to be adding to it to make it a bit more challenging, because For Pokemon veterans, even just a standard Nuzlocke challenge isn't always enough to make the Pokemon games as challenging as you kind of want them to be. So, the first rule that I'm going to be adding to this, the first clause, if you will, is that the battle style will be set to set instead of switch. What this means is that, okay, so like normally when you play through a Pokemon game, you're battling someone, and you kill one of their Pokemon, and they're about to send in another one, and the game will tell you they're going to send in Charmander or whatever. And then it gives you the opportunity to switch. When you choose the battle style set, it doesn't give you the opportunity to switch. They'll just send in their Charmander, and then you have to take a turn to switch your Pokemon out if you want to switch it out to something else. So that makes it more difficult in a way. It makes it more like you're battling an actual real person, like because like in a Wi-Fi battle or something, that's you don't get to see where they're switching into, and it's always set. So it makes it a little more challenging in that regard, and you have to think a little more strategically at certain points. So that'll be one thing I'm doing. The second clause, this is a little more complicated, this one, is that I'm going to be imposing a level limit that I cannot surpass with any of my Pokemon. Now this level limit will generally just be the highest level Pokemon of the next gym leader's team. So, for instance, right off the bat, we're going to have a 14 level limit, a level limit of 14, because Brock's highest level Pokemon, the first gym leader's highest level Pokemon, is going to be 14. And then once I beat that gym leader, then the next gym leader will, that's what the level limit will increase to. I think it's like 21 for Misty or something. And so none of the Pokemon on my team can be higher than level 14 if that's the level limit at the time. And if by chance I do get a Pokemon that is higher level than that, then I can't use that Pokemon until the level limit increases again. I have to put it in the box or keep it in my party and just not use it. And then I'm not allowed to use it until I beat that gym leader and increase the level limit. So hopefully that makes a modicum of sense. Once I beat all the gym leaders, if I get that far anyway, then the level limits will be a little more difficult to calculate for the end game, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The third clause I'm going to be imposing here is probably one more for entertainment's sake than difficulty's sake. It's called the dupes/species clause. And basically what this means is that I cannot catch the same Pokemon, like from the same line of Pokemon twice. So if I catch a Rattata on Route 1, then and let's say like my encounter on a later route is either a Rattata or a Raticate, then that encounter doesn't count for my first encounter. I can re-encounter to see what else I get. This is just mainly to add to the variety of Pokemon that you get, so that I'm not stuck with like 5 different Raticates, because that would be a little boring to watch and probably a little boring to play through as well, because it would just be all very samey, and like I wouldn't feel as bad if one of them died, because like, oh, I have 4 in the PC, who cares? And there is a sort of a stipulation to this clause, though, is that if I trigger that clause 5 different times, like if I encounter a Raticate 5 times before encountering anything else new, then the encounter for that specific area is forfeit. I don't get anything for that. And basically what this is in place to prevent is for me to abuse this clause in order to get super rare Pokemon, because there are certain Pokemon that will only appear like 5% of the time or 1% of the time, and those are really good encounters. And if I have like all the other Pokemon on that route already, then obviously I can just keep encountering forever until I get that 1% Pokemon. So with this stipulation in place, I won't be able to do that. I can only encounter 5 different times, and if all 5 of those encounters are things I already have, then too bad, so sad for me, I don't get anything. I don't think it'll come into play that often, but we'll see, I guess, when we get into it. The fourth stipulation here, I believe this is the 4th one, and this is a pretty big one, is that I'm going to be forbidding myself from using any healing items in battle. This means no potions, no elixirs or ethers, no status healers like paralyzed heals or antidotes or awakenings, nothing like that. I can't use any of that in any battle throughout the entire game, period. I can use it in between battles, that's totally fine, and I can use the Pokemon Centers as much as I want. But in the middle of a battle, I'm not allowed to use that at all, and you can imagine how hairy that's going to make this. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make it through the game, necessarily. But we're going to give it our best damn shot, that's for sure. So that's going to make things quite a bit more difficult. And the fifth and final stipulation I've got here, and this is another thing to sort of add to the variety of the team, is that I'm not allowed to have any duplicate typings on my team. So no two Pokemon on my team can have an overlapping type. So let me provide an example of this. Let's say if I get a Charmander as my starter. That means I'm not allowed to have any Pokemon of the fire type on my team, so I can't have a Growlithe, I can't have a Vulpix, I can't have a Magmar, nothing like that. But what this also means is that because Charmander ultimately evolves into Charizard, who's a fire flying type, that means even with just Charmander on my team, I can't have another flying type on my team either, because that will eventually result in a duplicate typing, provided that Charmander stays long enough in order to reach adulthood. If you want to put it that way, I guess. So, effectively what this means is that I can't have another fire type like a Growlithe, but I also can't have a flying type, so I couldn't have a Pidgey on my team or something. So, it's something to keep in mind, and it can make things a little tough to construct a team if I just keep getting the same typing over and over or something. But I'm sure we'll manage to work through it and put something together that's workable at least. We'll see, though. That is pretty much it for all the rules I want to put into place, though. I imagine it's going to be pretty challenging, but I'm always up for that challenge. You know me, I'm a crazy person. And I'm going to be doing my best to make it also like an informative style Let's Play, so we'll do as much as we can to show off all the trainers' Pokemon and talk to everyone. It's going to be a standard Let's Play. It's just going to have that Nuzlocke challenge variety to it. If I end up losing the challenge, I might continue the Let's Play anyway. I'm not necessarily sure about that, just because I kind of want to like show off the game and everything, but we'll just see. We'll hope that doesn't happen, I guess, is the main thing. At any rate, I think I've blabbed on for long enough about this. Expect to see the first episode of the Pokemon LeafGreen Nuzlocke either tonight or tomorrow. I'm thinking probably tonight, because I'm actually really excited to record this, and I just want to get it up as quick as possible here. Anyway, that's going to be it for now, for this episode 0, as it were. And I'll see you guys next time. This is ArgonMatrix, signing out. Thank you and good night.